Hello, everybody. I want to talk about the us versus them, love versus hate, and why I think we have come to the place where we are today, having just witnessed an assassination of a person who believed in his First Amendment rights, who stood on truth, who stood on his faith, stood on his family, his beliefs, his unwavering truth. And I'm someone decided that they could end his life. And I want to say that people like me, us, no one that I know in my life, if at any time who was Republican voting for Trump, and when Biden, was in office and this and that, and he would speak, and I never heard not one person in my life wish Biden null and void. Not one. We say, I don't agree with his ideas, politics. I don't agree with his recent statement or what he said in his speech. We can watch it and not wish harm on someone. I just can't imagine. And what I think has happened over time is the value of human life has gone down so far. And it hasn't just started. It has been, I'm not even going to say Roe v. Wade, but with the inception of Roe v. Wade, we have had millions of unborn children murdered. They're done. And we say, well, we have that right, and it's the law, and we had to fight for it, and that's fine. They started devaluing human life, and you have a lot of, I'm not saying a lot of college kids, but the people that Charlie has debated, they'll say it's just a clump of cells, and I disagree with that. A conception that is a human being. And so then you went through the age of divorce, the valuing of the American family. God has been taken out of a lot of families, a lot of homes. People stopped going to church. We stopped going to church when I was a teenager. So I went through went through Catholic grade school, then got my First Communion and CCD and all that, and then we just stopped going to church. So I'm not saying God wasn't still in our family, because I was surrounded by Catholic individuals, and so I still had that tie, but we stopped going to church. So it lesson there, and then it ended up, sorry, I'm sitting underneath a tree, so I'm sure there's nuts or something dropping on my car. But anyways, um, it then come turn when, but free love, there was casual sex. And recently, in the past so many years, there's been something called friends with benefits. So it's non-committal sex with someone you're not really friends with. It's just an easy term for hooking up or whatever the case may be. So we have devalued human life throughout the ages. We have removed God from home. And here we are. Along with that, the inception of the internet, and children, young individuals, young adults don't know how to communicate with other people. They're called keyboard warriors. And so thinking about all that and putting all that into context, I don't think younger people know how to have conversations, because you'll see, if you have a family party and you have children, little kids, preteens, teens, most of them have phones. And you'll go visit grandma and grandpa, and those kids will be on their effing cell phones. They'll ignore the other people in the room. They're too busy when they're watching a movie or whatever. They're disconnected. And that's what's happened to us as a society. In my family, for first number of years of my life, it was God, family, education, neighbors, etc. You were out, you were helping your neighbors, you were helping so and so up the block, and Mrs. Graff across the road would cut her grass. She had a small yard, but cut her grass and go help my grandma. I would sit and talk with my grandma, and I would help her with her sewing box. So I'd wind up all of her sewing thread and this and that. But we don't have that anymore. We are disconnected. So we have a lot of people who are just angry and lost. So if someone disagrees with them and that person loses their life, they celebrate that because the problem's gone. The voice is gone. We don't have to hear that person's voice anymore. But what they fail to realize is there is a greater good than evil. I went to the Charlie Kirk rally the other day in Waukesha, Wisconsin, and it was just peaceful and kind and loving. It was very similar to a church service in a way, but we all gathered and had camaraderie. There was no anger, there was no shooting, there was no violence, there was no swearing. It was peaceful. So I think what we need to do is to get back. Like Charlie said, God, his faith, you can call it religion, family, value of human life starting at conception, lessening casual relationships, hookups, friends with benefits. We have to start raising the value of human beings again and celebrate commitment, monogamy, marriage, family. Should be celebrated because it is awesome. So anyways, that's all I wanted to talk about. The us versus them, the good versus bad, the love versus hate. What side are you on? I mean, I'm only friends with people that are the us. I can't comprehend celebrating the annihilation of a human being who was kind, compassionate, caring, empathetic, and stood up for what was right. So anyways, that's all I've got, and I'll be back.